One of my friends that she had trash in a plastic bag, in a small plastic bag, and she throw it in a public trash. They open it and they found a H&M receipt, right, from the shops, and they tracked her down from the receipt. Imagine, the motivation, like going all the way to track you down.
And then what time is usually the time that they call the police?
Usually that's the crazy thing. At 10, after 10, boom, I just call, they just waiting, right? Like with the clock, okay, now. And then they call, right?
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Dating Beyond Borders podcast. Today, I'm joined by Swiss comedian Mike Casa, and we're diving deep into the Swiss mentality, from the most quintessentially Swiss rules and the mysterious Bünzli soul to the best and most frustrating parts of living here. Plus, the biggest misconceptions foreigners have about Switzerland. So let's get into it. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you. For a long time, I'm telling you, I couldn't understand if you were Italian or if you were Swiss or if you were Swiss Italian. And I had to go through a lot of videos to be like, oh, he's from Ticino. And that still says not much to me. So for anyone that doesn't know, what is Ticino? You describe it as the Scotland of Switzerland. So tell us a little bit more about this area.
Yeah, yes, correct. It's a bit, it's a minority in a way. We are just 300,000 people. And it's on the south of Switzerland. It's basically inside is the triangle that is inside of Italy. So it takes part of course, Italian culture. Not to go too deep, but historically was part of the Duke of Milan, I think, until 1512. Then the Swiss invaded and conquered the region, right? So, and then since then it's been, either a colony of Switzerland, let's call it, and then after also integral part of the nation. I think it's in a quite recent, in the 18th century, it became, or no, not even 19th century, beginning of 19th century, when Napoleon that chose to make the region part of Switzerland at equal rights. Before it was just kind of a colony status, right? So I'm from that part. Grew up there. My family's from there, but I moved to Zurich many years ago now. 19 years ago, I moved to Zurich.
So growing up in Ticino, do people kind of identify as more Italian, as more Swiss? Is it complicated?
No, I would say most people identify as Swiss. I would say a majority identify also. They are also conscious or aware of the cultural differences between their way of thinking and a Swiss German way of thinking. Of course, there are. It's undeniable. But I wouldn't say they identify them as Italian, right? Also, and even I think a lot of people are a bit on denial of the Italian way of thinking, Italian personality, right? They don't like to be associated with Italian. Well, from my side, I'm very, very conscious that our culture, our background, it's much influenced by our Italian roots. Let's say Italian roots, my Milan roots, because at the end we were part of that reality before the Swiss came to invade.
If you were to drive to the German part of Switzerland, how long would that take you?
From Ticino, it's super close. It's from my city, Lugano, which is the biggest city of the region, 120,000 inhabitants, with the urban area, would be just 1 hour, and you are in even 45 minutes. 45 minutes, and you are in German part.
For me, it's so interesting, having been born in Russia, a huge country, living in Canada, another huge country, to say that an hour difference makes such a difference in mentality and culture, right? So you say now you're living in Zurich. Obviously, Zurich is a whole other entity than the Italian part of Switzerland. Do you feel a little bit, you've been there for a while, so obviously this is all just normal to you now. But as someone like Swiss Italian, what have you noticed about yourself in terms of, okay, what are the parts of your personality that are more like quintessentially Swiss parts would you say? And what other parts you're like, I just don't really relate to this culture at all?
Right. Yes, there. It's a good question because I mean, I'm in many of my sketches. I make also jokes about things that I do and I believe in. For instance, recycling is also a big topic here. A lot of foreigners are not used. I'm very used to recycling because I was doing already in Ticino, right? But this is a thing that here really really quite strict. And for instance, I put paper with carton, right? Which I would say in Ticino is socially acceptable. But here, they no. You have the paper and the carton, right? This is like we are in between, like Italian mentality and not. Then also, they're quite fast. If you are having a party now, back then when I was a student, I still remember when you are having a party after 10, the police arrives, right? They're very, very strict in the Swiss German part, whereas in our part of Switzerland, they are not. Then I would say, okay, we also have big commonalities, like we believe in direct democracy, we believe in neutrality, we believe on the Swiss identity, out of the European Union. I would say majorly also when they vote, also Ticino goes closer on many topics to the Swiss German part, right? That you might not expect, if it was. If it were just Italian mentality in the Ticino mind.
Do you ever travel back to Italy? I'm sure you do. It's so close.
I go sometimes to Italy. Yes, I don't go honestly that often. Even from Lugano, which is 1 hour from Milan, I haven't been so many times. Maybe I've been maybe 10 times in total, so it's almost nothing. But now I try to go more often now. Right, for some reason now I did already 2 or 3 weekends away in Milan. So I liked it's a vibrant city, right? It's the closest city, also, of course, to our region. But I also have the impression, also my friend, they don't go so often, in Italy as you would think, right?
Mm. Whenever you did go, do you ever feel like, I feel not that an outsider, but you have the Italian accent. So people probably think when you speak Italian, right? Although I suppose it's a different version of Italian, different dialect.
No, actually, not really. Not really. It's you can feel a big difference on the valleys, but this is everywhere in Italy. In the valleys you have of course a different accent. Our accent, the one in Lugano, is very neutral. I would say. I mean, it's very similar to the one that you hear in Italian television. And it's, I would say, almost indistinguishable from the accent of Como. Right, Como is the city with the lake, which is close. This is 20 minutes drive from Lugano, and the accent is it's the same. So the you wouldn't be spotted as a person from Ticino. Only couple of words changes, minimal that I would also imagine the change between region and region of Italy, right? So there is not really a difference in languages. It's just there's this homogeneous, let's say, on the spectrum of Italian variations. Yes.
So basically, it's like you're from northern Italy. You might as well just be from northern Italy, and it's very similar in culture. So when you do go back to Italy, and if you ever go past, Rome or a little bit further down south, obviously it's probably the same as if I ask a northern Italian. If you go from Milan and you go to Calabria, like well, you will probably have some like a little bit of culture shock as well. Do you ever face that like kind of feeling that, oh, like I am Italian, but also I've also lived in Switzerland like most of my life, I mean all my life. Um, I'm still a bit of an outsider to this culture, to the Italian culture. Like these things annoy me. Like you said, recycling is one of the things that you do religiously. Do Italians do some things that you're like, oh, this is so weird, or this is so cool, or this is so different?
Right. I mean, I'm still from that region, right? So I'm not Italian, really. I'm Swiss, right? And also my family, it's from the region, so it's been Swiss by generations, right? So there is always this difference. Um, but yeah, I mean, we notice exactly those the same thing that an Italian could notice in the Swiss German part, right? For us, are also things that change massively. For instance, culinary wise, even the timing. There's simpler things as the timing of things. Like for instance, dinner here usually families have it at 6 o'clock in the German part, whereas in Ticino usually a family eat at 7:30, 8. And it's even that 1 hour difference makes a difference in your habits, right? And there are like this yeah, difference in all aspects that we notice, that as an Italian person could notice. I mean, probably there are many, but I would have to take a bit of time to think about them.
Yeah. So you mentioned something in your reels, and that is the spontaneous organization syndrome. Do you feel like you're more spontaneous than your average Swiss German?
Honestly, no. I mean, me myself as a person, no. But of course, in my circle of friends, I have a lot of friends from Ticino that are here. There's a lot of people from the region comes in the Swiss German part for studying, and then they stay. And there is more spontaneity. In my case, having many shows and work on top, then it becomes really critical that I'm organized, and I know almost exactly what I'm going to do in 3 months from now. So it's quite. Byproduct of having a lot to do. But yeah, of course here I think it's more ingrained in the overall mentality, whereas for me it is a necessity.
So you mentioned that you need to obviously be an organized person if you want to have any sort of a career where people actually trust you to come and do the stand-up show, or if you're going to do it like a television show, that you come on time, which is, it doesn't matter where you're from. This is something that you need to do. But when it comes to, let's say, social stuff, let's say you go out with friends, are you the type of person that says, guys, we're going to meet up at this time, you come at this time, or are you someone that's like, 10, 15 minutes later, it's okay?
Right, right. No, I do both. Honestly, it's for instance, the other day I put up a dinner on Monday, right? Let's see who comes, who doesn't come, right? But most people, in the Crazy Three Life couldn't. I mean, I purposely made a chat with the 8 people. I was like, hey, who wants to come? For dinner on Monday, can come to my apartment, and out of eight, just two accepted, and they're all Latin, so they got in the culture. So on that aspect, yes, I'm quite organized, and uh, if you ask me, I'm happy that you ask, right? But chances are that I'm have already a plan for that day. So it's really tough to be spontaneous with me, I guess. Yes.
I just wanted to take a moment to thank you so much for tuning in and supporting this podcast. If you've been enjoying these episodes thus far, it would literally mean the world for me if you hit that follow, that subscribe button, or left that 5-star rating. Podcasts take a lot of love and time to make. And if you know anything about monetization, it takes forever to monetize. Your engagement is the real currency for me. It's what allows me to take this podcast to the new level. Thank you truly for being here thus far, for supporting my journey. It means more than you know. I'm really happy though that, we scheduled this podcast, and it didn't take us long to actually do the podcast, which I actually really appreciated, because I remember I had one of the girls, she was Norwegian. She said, yes, I would like to do it. Can we do it like 2 months from now? And I was like, are you kidding me? Then she canceled last minute, which was not very Norwegian of her. But talking about the organized culture, I can see that there are definite perks in it. How do you feel about Swiss being so organized? Do you think it's a really, really good thing? And are there some moments where you think, come on, people, like loosen up a bit, have a little bit more fun?
Yeah, no. There are of course situation where I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous, right? Yes, and there are people that I could see on the Swiss German culture that are very very difficult to put together, and also they're almost surprised when you invite them over for next week. But one thing is being busy and being structured. One thing is being surprised that someone invites you just with a week in advance. And I think here there is really people that you say, "Hey, come next week, next Tuesday." They look you surprised, like, "What? Next Tuesday?" That's a thing, and that I noticed, right? And then I must say, I have a Swiss German friend. I was right now, just before the podcast, I was at this children party of a Swiss German friend of mine that studied with me and at the uni. So I still have Swiss German friends, but yeah, I've been being organized. It's something that I noticed in a lot of Swiss German people, and being surprised that you're spontaneous.
So you said that if I met someone and I said, "Hey, listen, I'm having a get together at my house next week," and I invite them, what would people's reaction be? You said they would be surprised and they would say no?
Yeah, probably meaning they will be surprised and check if they can or cannot. But chances are that they will not, just because okay, here people are quite busy, right? A lot of jobs in Zurich and Zurich area are really competitive, right? Because you have to imagine is people coming all over Europe to work in Zurich, right? Driven by the higher salaries and by the multinationals. I mean, as you probably know, in Switzerland there are tons of multinationals that are based in the Swiss German part as well in the Swiss French part. But they're coming here and they're really career driven people, right? And that also I think influenced a lot also the Swiss German culture per se over the time, because it's not only in recent year that multinational are based in Zurich, but it's been now decades, right? So what I think is also this situation of having a concentration of highly career driven people made also everyone step up their game in terms of organization and on scheduling things with large advance.
Do you also feel like, because in a lot of the world, you mentioned Latin America, people put their social life first as well, whether it's good or bad. But the point is, like, if I want to see my friends, that I'm going to put that top of the list. Do you feel like people are busy with their work and then maybe not as focused on their social life? Because then, like as you mentioned, I wonder when you say to someone, "Come over next week," if they're genuinely busy, if they've already planned everything out, or if it's just too fast and too soon and kind of like too close somehow?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that there is a component of that, right? Yes, I mean, I can imagine that some people will make an excuses and say it's too close and too yeah, as you were saying, right? Now it's difficult to know for me what is the case, right? I always assume for good that they're really busy, right? But I think there's most likely also this component that comes into play. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, Swiss, there's a stereotype, especially when it comes to Swiss Germans, that it's very hard to become friends with them. Actually, Internationals came out with a study and it said that I think Switzerland was at the top of the places that were really difficult to make friends in. Do you think it's true? How has your experience been? I mean, you are Swiss, you've lived here most of your life, but do you agree with this?
Yeah, no, definitely, it's not an easy place to get friends. That's, I mean, well known, and also there are many jokes on my stand-up comedy and on the stand-up comedy of the other comedian in the region. It's tough to get into such a social circle. Um, there is actually this one of the most. I tell you this joke. One of my colleagues, that's a comedian. He had this joke. He was saying, now I start. I read on funerals who has died, because I know in a circle of friends now is missing one person. And then I can substitute the person on the circle of friends, which is of course absurd, but it's not the easiest place to make friends. Yeah, exactly. I think it's most of this is driven by the highly career driven people that are working in the region, right? Even not only Swiss people. I mean, Swiss people. I think there are like. Yes, there are more maybe uh, tough to get to open, right? That's also like a stereotype that I think is holds true. But also, I think expat that comes here, then they go a lot on this on the Swiss culture in the sense that they say they're super busy with their career and they don't have time for new friends, right? So easily as maybe in other city. But I would say a lot of activities that are organized in Zurich I mean, around Zurich are by expats. I have the feeling that they are more active seeking friends because they try to find someone to bond that is not Swiss because it's also difficult to find Swiss friends.
Even for you, I mean, you are Swiss and it's still difficult for you.
Look, for me, in my case, I must say, I have a lot of friends from my region here. So basically, a lot of people from Ticino that I met during the studies. Because what happened is also you come, I studied mechanical engineering in Zurich. So I still I'm in contact with many people that studied with me because we all came, we didn't know language so well, so you tend to unite for helping translating things, and then it stayed this group of friends that's been helping each other during the studies. I have Swiss German friends, but I would say the majority of my friends are Italians or from my region, from Ticino. Yes, but it's let's say for me easier because I had my studies, right? So having your studies here, you get your kind of always exposed to new people. It's not like a work environment. You go to parties and you have fun. So I didn't have so many challenges, right? Meeting Swiss German person, but it's also in another, let's say, more privileged situation because during the studies, clearly easier to meet people.
Yeah, I also wonder too, because Switzerland is very expensive and also that kind of impacts the social life because you're going to go out to a bar and pay how much you're going to pay for a drink. Just give me a
Right.
sense.
Yes. Yes. I mean, for a large beer, around $10, $10. And I don't know, Canadian. I think in a Canadian 101 or something like that, right?
No,
Similar
definitely
to
not.
no.
No, that would be
How much is there now?
15. So $10 I think would be around 14, 15 Canadian dollars.
Ah, all right, right. Yes.
So
Okay. Perfect. I remember at some point there were 101. It's been years ago, I imagine. Huh?
definitely not.
Um. Right. So yes, I would say $10. So yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, imagine me going in with my Canadian money and getting majorly
Right.
screwed.
Yes. 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 It's true. And also, this is a big advantage when you're a student. I think I've been a student in 4 different countries. Yeah, 4 different countries. I've been in exchange in London. I've been in exchange in Boston. I've been in exchange in Sydney. So I've seen different student lives. And I mean, I always say that to me, the best student life is still Zurich if you're up to go out because you have parties that are open to everyone. If you know where to look, they usually have a Thursday night. You have a party, a student party. So sometimes also Friday night you have a student party. And then you have a lot of apartment parties, right? So that some students do like apartment parties. And I remember it was a really good party life as a student in Zurich. So people that are party goers can have a good time as well even without spending much, right? Yeah.
Interesting. So basically, if you're a student, it's a pretty good, an easy time making contacts and forming and making friends.
I have this impression if you are willing to put yourself out, yes, for sure it's easier. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk quickly about being a comedian in Switzerland. By the way, and what made you get into this? Because you're one of the biggest talks things you talk about, and obviously I've seen other stand up where you just talk about other things. You have comedy about other subjects as well, and you don't talk about Switzerland. But one of your biggest focus is Switzerland. Why did you decide to focus on your own country?
Look, I think it's also this one is a kind of a byproduct. I think I don't know if it's related also to the algorithm, right? Because Instagram tend to push your content, also TikTok tend to push your content to the people around you, right? First, so the Swiss topics were the one that were getting more traction on social media, and then I continue doing that, right? Um, having the Swiss jokes, on my sets, but uh, as I remember I said in another podcast. I mean, if you come to my show, probably 30% is Swiss material, the other 70% has nothing to do with Switzerland, right? So, I think they are perceived equally good. Like also the other material, live performs. I mean, let's say, yeah, performs good. Um, but somehow in social media, the Swiss material, especially Swiss stand-up comedy clip, gets more traction. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
definitely have noticed that myself because I focus on cultures. And when you focus on one specific culture, it helps everybody perform better because it also shows it to the people that are interested. And everybody goes, "Oh, I'm Swiss, I do this, or I live in Switzerland, this annoys me."
right,
And then they
right.
share it. And that's how I found you as well. You perform a lot I mean, you perform in front of Swiss audiences, obviously, because you live in Switzerland. I don't know if you perform anywhere else. Would you say Swiss are an easy audience, or are there certain jokes that actually perform the best when you're performing in front of Swiss people?
Right. So my audiences are usually a mix. I mean, I have probably 30 to 40% of people that are Swiss, and 60% more or less that are expats. So it also, um, drives a lot of expat to my shows. This kind of comedy, right? So it's I would say, I noticed that are having a good time. Both of them, I never had like a single complaint from a Swiss person. Like, because also being Swiss, I can play the card, of telling Swiss jokes. Um, but yeah, in my shows, is a mixed audience. So this is, of course, helps a bit. This to make it also, liked generally by the public, right? By my public. I don't know if I answer. Is it maybe I missed a part of your question? What you asked something else as well at the beginning?
Yeah, it was a long-winded question. Is there a joke, or are there a couple of jokes about Swiss people that always resonate, that always perform well?
Right, right. Sorry, there's a got it a bit messed up. So that I mean, there are. I mean, things that all the Swiss have to do, like for instance, pay for health insurance. We have a particular system in Switzerland, right, where uh, the state doesn't cover your health insurance, where I mean, they contribute financially to a lot of um, health costs, for instance, building a hospital, etc. But your costs are covered by a health insurance, and you can choose one, and then you have the deductible is 2,500 francs. In our case, I mean, you can also have it lower, but most people have to add 2,500 francs. And so this is a topic that everyone can relate. If you do a joke about all those topics, people everywhere across the board, expat and Swiss people, will understand it, right? And also transportation. I mean, it's one of my biggest ending. There is like some jokes that I've done probably 300 times just because they're really well loved about the SBB, the public transportation. So SBB is the train, basically the Swiss Federal Railways. Yes.
So what's the train joke?
The train jokes, I think it's let's see, it's a bit long now to tell, but I can tell, a bit, give a color, a bit more color to it. I like to make fun at the end of the the long announcement that they do, because they go you know, every, you know, 20 minutes before any destination, they start telling you all the connections that are then available on the others on the station that is coming, right? And they do it like in three languages sometimes, and never ending. I mean, it's something that really you get almost bothered, because okay, it's finished, then it start with another language, then it's finished, then start. And I do the imitation, right, on the microphone. I do the imitation how with their, you know, their intonation, their cadence. And I think I do it quite well, because really these are people are usually cracking up on this one. So if you're Swiss, you get it, because they all have the same intonation, like you know, in subways in London, I think it's the same. For some reason, they get into a cadence of saying things, and everyone picks up from the people doing these announcements. So so this is something that people like, probably because then you notice how this is always the case, and you resonate. Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I can imagine the voice as well. Um, okay, let's talk about Swiss rules. What are some Swiss rules that you think are funny in the sense that they are so extreme?
Right. So I tell you, I mean, extreme, maybe not, but as a consequence is extreme. So I tell you this thing that we have. I don't know in Canada if you have the same, but um, you have the trash. You pay around $3 per trash bag in Switzerland, and then it's kind of you have kind of this tax, right? Because you pay much more than what is the worth, the plastic bag, and you can only use those trash bags, right? You cannot throw in a container um, a normal black trash bag, right? So, but if it happens that someone throw a black trash bag, they open it. They have like a little van. They come, they put it on the table, they open it, and they look for anything that can, identify you. You know, a letter or anything that is inside. And it's really, I mean, it's a real thing. I think if you go on YouTube, you see also a real documentary about it. Like they just really have a van, and they go there, like they do those investigation. And I just recently, yesterday, I heard like one of my friend that she had trash in a plastic bag, in a small plastic bag, and she throw it in a public trash. They open it for finding who throw like as a plastic bag in a public trash, and they found a H&M receipt, right, from the shops, and they tracked her down from the receipt. I mean, imagine, I mean, the motivation, like going all the way to track you down. Yeah, probably they had to go to H&M and ask, okay, this transaction, who did this transaction? Or like
Jesus.
something
That is
something
like
quite extreme.
special agents that are better than Mossad. Like, what
Yeah, yeah,
are
yeah.
they doing?
They are getting all the way all out, all out.
It's interesting that I mean, I completely understand why they want, people to use proper trash bags but but that's a bit crazy to go through the trash bag. I mean, the amount of effort that requires. I mean, I understand if this person harmed another person, but they simply use the wrong bag. And then what happens when they find this person who performed this heinous act of, using the wrong
Right,
bag?
right, right, right. It gets fined. I don't know. I don't know how much is the fine. I imagine probably. I would imagine something like $1,000 or something. Something on that way. I mean, knowing the fine, yeah, actually, is also well known. Switzerland for having hefty fines. For instance, if you speed for speeding, there are much higher than in Germany. The fines. So it's. There is not much tolerance, and also a lot of control and driving. I mean, well, I know that part of the income of the city of Zurich is already calculated based on how many speeding tickets they will get from the radars, from the speed controls. So and they are heavy. Usually, like even Some kilometers more can give you like around 100 US dollar, if I'm not wrong. So you get quite fine.
What about the story that I've heard that on the weekends, and you've also, I think we touched upon this at the beginning, on the weekends and after 10 p.m. you're not allowed to make any noise. But also on Sunday, similarly to Germany, you are not allowed to be, and you made a reel on this as well, where you're like doing all the things that you shouldn't be doing on Sunday, I think. Um, is it true that it's also like you shouldn't take showers after 10 p.m.? You shouldn't flush the toilet after 10 p.m.? Or is this like just the joke?
Right. No, I mean probably someone will say, but I read an article about that um, theoretically neighbor cannot complain if you shower or if you use the toilet after 10 p.m. Because it's responsibility of the landlord to isolate it enough because basic necessities should be allowed at any time. Whereas it wouldn't surprise me if someone would complain, because you take a shower late. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Especially all ladies, all these German ladies have a big passion for complaining about the noise not allowed hours.
Has it ever happened to you, or are you just really wary of taking showers after a certain time?
Right. No, I mean, luckily, I always lived in quite new buildings, so didn't have this problem. But it happened to me, that the police comes. Yes, I mean, we had like party, the police arrive. Remember one party, we even started collecting, money in advance because you get the first warning. I was like, yeah, the first warning, and after we pay the fine, and then after 20, 30 minutes they come back, and then you have to stop. But at least we can go on for 30 minutes more. It was just already a risk that was calculated.
I
Yeah,
mean,
nowadays that happened.
but then if you have that party and you already know that this is going to happen, it kind of, I feel like it, it makes it less fun because then you're already on the
Yeah,
watch for, okay, neighbor will complain. We all have to pay this fine. Not that much fun.
yeah, yes, no, exactly. To kind of kill the vibe. I mean, you are not sure 100% if they're going to do it, but usually it's good because you maybe put a list. Hey, we're going to have a party, and so let us know if it's too noisy, right? And there are people that call straight the police. They don't call you. Yeah, so it's kill the vibe. I mean, it's not a certainty that the police will arrive, but I mean, it happens quite often.
And then what time is usually the time that they call the police?
Usually that's the crazy thing. I mean, at 10, after 10, boom, they just call, they just waiting, right? Like with the clock, okay, now, no, 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 now. And then they call, right? I guess if, some people, I mean, especially, elderly people, senior people, they go to sleep earlier, and that's why they're there just waiting. Probably they would have gone already in bed at 9. I don't know because they have dinner at 10. Sorry, at 6, right? They have dinner at 6. So I guess imagine like 6 for them is normal to go to bed at 8:39, right? So that's a bit a problem.
Yeah, I'm always conflicted about the parties because, on the one hand, I understand when people get annoyed when parties run really late and it's really noisy. And it happens in a lot of countries. Like, I've had experiences in Spain or in Latin America, people are quite loud. But then there's a point where it's 10 o'clock and it's still early. And then you can't even have a few friends over and someone calls. Like, I had this experience in Germany where we had a party. I got to the party, and 5 minutes later, some Frau Gertrude, she complained and the party was over. It was the quickest party I'd ever been to, and it was the funniest thing.
Right, you
Um,
see, yeah, it's
yeah.
similar, I guess. If you have lived the German experience, I think it's much. You can drive a lot of parallelism with Swiss culture. Yes.
Have you ever had any experiences where you broke a rule that you didn't know was a rule and then you got in trouble for it?
Oof, God, good question. Yes, doesn't come any to my mind right now. Because I'm quite compliant, I must say. I try to be compliant when I can. Oh, all right. Like this is, but I don't know if it is count. But on the plane, just recently, 2 weeks ago, I was on the plane and they came again to ask for airplane, put everyone in airplane mode, right? I was watching a video and I was like, yeah, but I mean, I checked. There is no case in aviation history that was proven that a flight was delayed or was, had problems because of a phone on in airplane mode. So, I mean, chances are really low. And then a whole lady behind me was looking at me, hey, you got to put in airplane mode. I was like, okay, that was extreme. I mean, but, I guess, it's, that's a minor non-compliant behavior.
Yeah, again, it reminds me of Germany. I was on Lufthansa, and this was after COVID. I think after COVID
Uh-huh.
had already kind of stopped. And the flight attendant, she was so angry. She kept yelling at us and telling us, put your masks up, and just being so rude and so mean. And I thought, well, we're paying a lot of money for this ticket, and you're yelling at everyone. Like, as soon as it dropped just a bit, she would be there with like a finger pointing at you. And I found that crazy. I was like, what? Like, I feel like I'm always doing something wrong. Like, there's a nice way to say to someone, sorry, could you put your mask on? But she was like, no, she was ruling that plane.
Brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's jump
Yeah.
into the dating a little bit. Is there anything that is interesting that you've noticed about the Swiss dating culture that might be different in other places? Are people as reserved and as like, do they take their sweet time to
Mhm.
get close to people, do you think?
Right. I mean, yes, that's one thing that I mean we observe on comedy, and there are lots of comedians make jokes about that. That usually here relationships tends to be very very long. Right? Like usually it's quite common, on Swiss German native that they are with their girlfriend since high school, right? But super common, and they stay with the same girlfriend forever, right? There's not much. Dating or hedonism, right? I lived for 6 years with two Greek persons, and they were also, commenting on that, right? It's crazy in Greece, change partner quite often, or like change your boyfriend or girlfriend quite often, and then here it's quite I would say conservative dating scene. Also, it changes also in Zurich. At Zurich, 40% of people in Zurich are expat, so you of course have a bit of everything, right? In the sense of dating mentality and dating culture. Um, I would say that the standard Swiss German dating culture is really conservative and not so adventurous. That I would take the risk to make this statement. Yes.
Is it different in Ticino, do you think?
Teacher, yes, a bit. Yes, of course. I think it's more closer to the Italian dating culture. So, people, don't break up more often, right? And there is more drama, more drama involved in the relationships than in the Swiss German part. That I have the feeling it's also true. Also, I see my friends from Ticino dating here. They bring another flair to the dating scene.
You mentioned that your roommates were Greek. I know, and you mentioned that you also had some expat friends. Have they shared anything with you about their experience in making friends or dating in Switzerland that is kind of interesting?
Yes, yes. I mean, it came to my mind this one from from one of my friend that is from Brazil, right? And he dated. He dated. Then I don't know how far I want to push this story. I mean, let's see where I have to censor this story. But he was dating this Swiss German girl. Like I say, it's crazy because she never complained. And then one day she came to say that she wanted to break up. She broke up, right? And then he told me, and I never understood why you were always doing that in bed. And he was like, "Hey, I've been doing it for 2 years, and now you tell me," you know, really conservative, not sharing too much of what they want, what they don't want, right? So this is yeah. So they was complaining, and actually from that time, I think it was the only Swiss German girl he dated. So
Do
is
you
yeah.
Yeah, do you feel like for expats it is kind of difficult to date in Switzerland? Have you
Yeah,
noticed?
I feel yes, yes. I mean, I feel I mean, a lot of time they find other expats, right, of other culture, right? Not necessarily Swiss people. I mean, I think um, what is the perception is that Swiss German guys are quite vanilla. Now not super exciting, not super outgoing. I mean, there are of course, but yeah, I have the feeling you know they are yeah no much not much passion, right? So that's I think what makes it also difficult, right? There was I tell you this one my supervisor during my PhD was Swiss German. He had I think a Slovakian wife, and he said, "Yeah, like the Slovakian girl comes to come here, and he found me, like I'm boring, but at least I don't drink, I don't spend money on betting. I I'm a stable person. That's what they're looking for." That's yeah, that's I think advantages and as disadvantages. Like this is a stable, like very stable person, like with routines and with a standard way of doing things that less exciting, but at least you have guarantees.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for someone that we're talking in generalities, right? Because there are all sorts of people, but someone that you can count on, then it's good to go for a culture that is a little bit more predictable. So it depends on what you're looking for. It's funny too because I've met a lot of Swiss Germans in Latin America. And they were really going wild in Latin America. They were like, "We're
Ah,
outside of Switzerland. Beer is cheap here. We have our Swiss passport," and they would just, with a Swiss passport, like, "Look at us, we have the Swiss passport," and all the girls were swooning over them because, of course, that's the dream for a lot of girls. And so they were really kind of, going wild. So I've seen the other crazy side of Swiss Germans as well. But I think it's different when you go back home and you kind of settle into your routine and then the expectations to act a certain way. You don't want to really stand out and draw attention to yourself. And then you start behaving in that way as well, right?
right, right. It can be. It can also be. I mean, I don't know. If. Those people maybe I'm not saying depend on if it were like Swiss German really Swiss German or they were because a lot of Swiss German have people that lives in Swiss German bar they became Swiss German are also from Italian origins. We have a lot of Italians of course that came here in the 60s. Then we have also a lot of Balkans that came here on the 90s. So a lot of the Swiss German people are also, from mixed cultural background, I would say, right? So maybe they're not the typical, or maybe they were just not the typical, stereotypical Swiss German. I don't know, right? But yeah, I've been on holidays as well with some of my Swiss German friends that were more, more strict, and they were a bit the party killers on holidays. I must say, I remember this story. We were like in New York, right? We met like a Belgian guy that was so much fun to hang out with, but it was, quite crazy. Right? I was going. Went to the museum together. It was we met him in the hostel, so went to the museum together. Everyone was taking a picture of Picasso. He went on front of the painting and was like, "Yes, you can take pictures of me. Yes, you can do that." Were like crazy things they was doing. It was a lot of fun to hang out with, but then. I regret that I didn't take his contact because this Swiss German friend was like, "No, he's an idiot. He's an idiot. We don't have to hang out with him. He's an idiot." Right? But I think it was hilarious, and I still regret that I don't have the contact of the guy because Sometimes it came to my mind. It was so much fun. I mean, it's so many things in this few days in hostel that it must be a pleasure to have a holidays with this guy.
Yeah. I wonder how often you travel and if you ever leave, when you ever, get out of Switzerland, do you feel like you act differently? Because, some of the reason I ask is because sometimes I'll ask people and they'll say, you know what, outside of my country where I feel like I can do anything and be anything, I'm a lot more relaxed. And then when I'm back in my country, there's certain rules that I
Right.
abide by. Or if you carry that with you.
Right. I think I myself also on holidays, I would say. Yes. So I carry it with me. Sometimes on holidays for simplicity, I say that I'm Italian. Just for making more understanding the cultures and in the identity, like because it's easier. I mean, I don't identify as Italian, but I think it's easier to than to make people understand what kind of background, cultural background you have.
Yeah, even with me, when you were saying I'm Swiss Italian, and I understand it in theory, but I don't because I don't live there. It's still very. It's not obviously confusing because I know that Switzerland is comprised of the German, French, and Italian part. Also, some other part was it Romansh?
Romansh, but there are only
Yeah,
50,000 people. Honestly, that's it's dying as a language. I think you have more Albanian speaker than Romanian speaker, so it's
interesting.
not really. Yes,
Now I know. But yeah, for me, it's just it's a complicated, I think, thing to understand because, whenever you think of Switzerland, you mostly think like, oh, German or French. That's just kind of what comes to mind because I think maybe they have whatever, Germans are definitely the majority, right? Um, and so when you think because you have more of an Italian accent and you do come off more Italian to me, it's I keep forgetting that you are actually Swiss, which I think probably happens a lot to you when you introduce yourself as Swiss Italian or Swiss. People are like, "Oh, but you have an Italian accent." Does anyone ever
right,
say this
right.
to you?
No, no, often. I mean, of course, it's a minority. Minority. We have is it around 300,000 people in Ticino in the region, right? So it's not well known. Even in Italy, strangely enough, even in Italy, they don't know. I mean, you go maybe North Italy, most people know. Then you already go Central, South Italy. They don't know there is also a, a substantial community of Italian speakers that are not in Italy, right? So you have to explain a lot of time. They say, "Oh, you speak really well Italian for being Swiss." It's like, okay. It's yeah, it's something. Yes, it's yeah, a lot of people are not aware, so it's normal that you have to explain it. Yes, we're used to.
Okay, I want to get your honest opinion now, and we're going to talk about the positives afterwards. But I want to start with a negative. In your experience, in your opinion, what is the most frustrating part about living in Zurich or in Switzerland overall?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be a bit dull, right? There is not so much life. They're like there. I mean, if you know where to go, you find something to do. But there is not much life, especially during the weekdays. That's I mean, undeniable. Even when they have nice party, nothing going, often they have to cut the music quite early, right? So that's like, doesn't help. And yeah, that I would say this is the major drawback, right? This is it's not so many activities, not people going out so much. Whereas in the Zurich per se, there is a big population of people, young people under 25, 35 that are there for work, right? So there are the elements for making really a good nightlife even during the week, but I think it didn't fully realize yet, right? Maybe in the future will change. I think I saw it changing those years. Honestly, in Zurich, there was even less when I was studying years ago. Right now I think also with social media, like that shows party, they have the possibility to make people more aware of what is going on, new places, new things. It improved, right? But it's not at the level of other cities for sure.
So when you go abroad and let's say you go to another European country that is, let's say, fun, let's say Greece or Spain, is that something that you realize that you really miss back at home? Or are you like, okay, you know what? I actually don't really want that many parties. Like I'd rather leave this party early and go home.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm find myself well in the Swiss German part. I mean, I feel it feels home. So to me is not crazy. But I realize it. Right. In a way, it doesn't impact me that much. But I realize that some people can feel can feel bored or can feel out of their own country very strongly in Zurich and the area. But to me personally, yeah, it doesn't impact me that much.
Yeah, I also heard that in Switzerland it's not really common. Maybe that's changed again to eat out because it's just so expensive and people cook in more, stay in more, and then they'll like once in a blue moon they'll go out and actually go to the restaurant.
Right. Yes, I think it's a big component this one as well. You're completely right. Going out to restaurants is expensive for sure. I mean, if you go to people, probably you wouldn't be surprised for anything, right? That you leave at least 150 US dollar on the table for going. I mean, unless it's burger, right? But any restaurants, usually this would be, I would say, a quite even conservative price, under 50 US dollar in two for going to the restaurants. Yeah. So yeah. So it's and also it's a big disproportion on the price of the restaurant, how much it costs cooking at home, right? And I think the most impacted by these prices are the people that earn the less, right? Because you have already a lower salary, and then on top it comes the health insurance that is separate, it comes the rent that is high for everyone, it comes all these elements, and what you can save if you want to save, that's you cannot afford to go to a restaurant often because the restaurants, of course, are prohibitive for a lot of people. But if you earn well good money, then of course you don't look that as wow, a big topic, right? But uh, yeah, it feels really insane sometimes compared to other countries. Like what? Even a pizza. Sometimes if you go like to a good pizzeria, a good, I mean, a bit more complex pizza is around 40, no, what, 35 US dollars. So
For one
uh,
person or for two?
for one person, just the pizza, not just the pizza. If you go like to a nice pizza place, nice pizza place, you can easily. I mean, a pizza they usually take is around 35 US dollars. Yeah,
Yeah, I saw the reel that you published recently where you show a Swiss person back at home in a restaurant and a Swiss person on
right.
vacation.
Yes, it's really the case that people go crazy when they go out here. Yes, it's really a huge difference. Yeah.
Okay, let's finish up this podcast on the positive. What are some of the things that you really love about living in Switzerland? What do you miss when you go abroad? What are those things?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, safety there is something that everyone mentioned, of course. Safety and cleanliness are undisputable, right? And I'm very happy, honestly, to live in a country that it's safe and you don't have to worry that much. I've been living in Rio for 2 months, and like this constant brain work to think, okay, is there someone following me? Is there someone behind the corner? Or is this guy suspicious? Or is this guy not suspicious? That drains also a lot of your mental energy. And here, of course, you can switch off this alert system, right? Then I the how much you earn in a job and compared to the cost of life is still higher, right? You can still save more than in other country because still, there is still a significant gap between how much you earn usually I'm again in a let's say corporate job or more high educational job. Um, this gap of money that you save allows to do great holidays, right? So that's for sure like great advantages. But maybe this is not so related with the life of in Zurich, I would say. And then I would say for myself, for stand-up comedy is a great place to be, honestly, because there is a lot of people that wants to go to see comedy here, and I think it's related. with the fact there is not so many activity competing, right? As I was saying, right, in the week, there is nothing much to do, right? So you really have. I mean, there are of course activity. I'm not saying, but less in other city that you can get much more distracted in other cities. So for as a stand-up comedian, it's great to bring people together for a night of comedy, and for me it's an advantage. And maybe now I do a bit, I go a bit on a tangent, but I did comedy also in Sydney, in the US, and you have to see the difference in an open mic. You go on an open mic in Sydney or in the US or in London. I've also been in London doing open mics. You have, 5 people in the audience and 20 comedians, right? So it's really tough to get public to come to a show open mic. Here you do an open mic, you have sometimes you don't have enough comedians, but you have like maybe 60 people that want to watch the open mic. So really this ratio here is completely completely upside down compared to other cities.
Yeah. No, that's really great. Yeah, that's one of the big things. I had a friend, she was a stand-up comedian and she moved back to Croatia, and she used to complain to me how difficult it was to do this in Croatia. So I know the problems that come with stand-up comedy and where you are location-wise, and how well you can do it in your own city. I know that's a big one. It's funny that you say that there's nothing to do and people come to the comedy show. Listen, if it helps you, it helps you. You know, if people are like, this is the one thing that we're doing this week, and it's Mike's comedy show, then that's great for you, right?
Yeah, I can't complain. Yes.
Mike, thank you so much for taking part in the podcast. Super interesting to get insight about Switzerland from a Swiss person themselves. It's quite rare to get Swiss person to to go and come and talk about anything. They're like, no, give me another 2 months. No, but genuinely, I really enjoyed it. For anyone that wants to find out more about Switzerland, or listen to Mike's comedy, you can go check him out on Instagram. Also, you have a YouTube channel where you put up some of your stand-up comedy. So I'm going to link to those below.
Right. Thank you so much. I really appreciate, and thanks for having me.
Thanks again. And guys, for anyone that wants to know more about other countries, I have episodes coming out every week. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And until next time, stay curious, stay human. Hope you all enjoyed the podcast. If you made it all the way through, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you're watching or listening. Your support helps me bring in bigger guests and surprise you with even better episodes. Until next time.